Well, hello there, ladies and gents. Great to see you again, and welcome back to Game Changers, the lessons you never learned in school. Ryan Ruff here, your moderator, but as always, I'll be joined by the president and CEO of Mag7 Consulting. That's Mr. Barry Garapedian. And we're going to be jumping into, yes, one of those lessons that you never learned back in school. Today's topic kind of encompassing this best practice that most people just don't do. It's a practice that certainly kind of charts a path forward for your life. It's something to reflect upon, to envision, and then to go manifest. And it's something that is just so easy to do. And a lot of us almost do it without even realizing it. But we're going to get into what this best practice is, how you can leverage it to really grow yourself personally as well as professionally. But before we get into the good details, let's say hey to Barry. Barry, good to see you this morning. How you doing, sir?
It is wonderful to be here, Ryan. Best day ever.
Hey, I love that. Always good to be with you, Barry. Barry, why don't you tee up the topic for us today? What exactly are we talking about? What is this best practice?
This is an idea I've been using for decades, and I formally started bringing it to the table with a lot of young minds, building a vision board and actually taking the vision board and putting it on the wallpaper of your phone, which we're going to talk about why this is so important.
Sure. So yeah, let's dig right into that. Why is this idea of a vision board so important? I would imagine most people, Barry, sitting down listening to today's episode, have probably heard the words vision board together before, but let's stay at that high level. Why is it so important and why should people be thinking about it?
So, first and foremost, how are you going to get there if you don't know where you want to be? So, images are basically subliminal. When you put it on a area that you see frequently, it reminds you need to be doing what you need to be doing. So this would be a high level strategy for anyone. I got this idea from Cameron Herold, who wrote the book Vivid Vision, and I repurposed it between 10 and 20 images on a poster board. And we're going to talk about how to do this, but it reminds me 20, 30 times a day I should be doing something that I might not be doing. It's a subliminal message.
Sure, and you and I have had conversations about this offline, and you had mentioned to me that this is something. It's an ELF, ELF. What does that mean?
ELF is an acronym for easy, lucrative, and fun. I learned that from Joe Polish, Genius Network, and I've been implementing that for a long time. And this is fun. If you were to take some time out of your day, and I need to reboot my new vision board for the new year, you're cutting things out, you're creating something that's artful and it's fun and it's all about you. So this is that ELF kind of mentality of making it fun.
I love it. Well, Barry, as we typically do with any of our topics on this show, we kind of like to break them down into a few key important topics that exist. So when it comes to this idea of a vision board, this best practice that most people don't do, what are the three things people really need to be thinking about here?
So number one is we are going to create a board of activities, hobbies, things that are important in your life that will empower you to be doing this more frequently. So on my vision board, I have 20 images of things that mean something to me. Be a picture of my daughter, my son, my son-in-law, my daughter-in-law, my wife, travel. There's things on here on my phone that absolutely remind me of things that would empower me. So you're saying, why is that so important? It's important because if you want to grow and be in a growth mindset, you need to be playing offense. And this is an element, in addition to written goals, we use image goals. And image goals are, again, subliminal to remind you. And it's also what I love about this is it's easy to do. This is not something you need to get a PhD in. Anyone can do this. You can do this virtually, put it together, or you can do it like I did old school, where I got a poster board and I cut pictures out and I glued it on the board. And I'm looking at it in my office. I have a place in my office where I'm looking at the vision board in addition to my phone. So easy to do, but very few people do this.
Well, let's jump into something that kind of the first item I want to hit here, and that's this whole idea of a vision board is really about creating an image of where you want to be in your life. So let's double click into that before we get into the, how to build a vision board, what you want to have on your vision board. But let's talk about this idea of how it's really just thinking ahead. Where do you want to be, and how is that going to work out?
Jim Valvano, a very, very famous basketball coach. I'll never forget when he made this presentation back in the early 80s. He won a national championship in basketball. And he said, in formulating a meeting, it's where were you? Where are you now? Where do you want to be? How are we going to get there? How in the heck are we going to get there if we don't know where we are and where we want to be? We know where we want to be, but oftentimes it's not written, or it's not detailed enough. And I do believe in the law of attraction. You attract what you want. So you have a vision of what you want. Oftentimes in the law of attraction, it's going to happen. Maybe not exactly, but a lot of it. And for me in my life, that's exactly what has happened. I had this vision. I had this protocol of knowing where I wanted to be. So the vision board is merely a tool to help articulate where you want to be, but you're doing it with pictures. You're not doing it with words. And when you do goals are great, but where do they go, Ryan? They go in a drawer, or you don't look at them for a month. This way, you're looking at it multiple times during the day,
Right.
and it's reminding me to be where I want to be.
Yeah, I love this. I mean, you can't really deny something when it's staring you right in the face. And you're so right. So many of us, especially, we sit down to record this episode, Barry, in the month of November. We're looking around at the end of the year coming up. It's that classic time of year where everybody's going to start talking about New Year's resolutions or goals for the year, or maybe the 3-year, 5-year plan. But you're absolutely right. We write them down. They go right back in the notebook and right back in the drawer. So let's go back to this idea of a vision board should really incorporate what empowers you. So talk me through, how somebody can really whittle down to, okay, what does empower me? Sure, Barry, I can sit here and I can tell you I love golf and I love these things, but how do I really whittle down to what empowers me to be the best version of myself?
I have a picture of my son's abs. To me, that means fitness. And he's holding a plate of food, which is something very healthy. It empowers me to eat healthy foods. So there has to be a little bit of a story in their vision board of what it means to me. So what I mean by empowering, I could have a picture of a guy on a chairlift skiing with his skis dangling. I love to ski. Or you might have a picture of a golf ball. Or you might have a picture of a famous course you want to play, Ryan. That's what I mean by empowering. It reminds us that we want to be there and we want to spend more time. I have in here thinking bigger, right in the middle, thinking bigger. Oftentimes, many of us, we don't think big enough. We think like this. What if we think like this? It reminds me to be playing more offense. So your vision board is a very personal piece of art that reminds us to be the best version of ourselves. And again, it's fun. Anywhere I go, I show people my vision board on my phone. I want to do one. You want to do one? Here's what you're going to do. Real easy. I explain how to do it. I'm going to give you until next Friday, and you're going to share me your vision board. I do this all the time. Matter of fact, someone is due their vision board to me on Friday, and it's very pretty. They're going to go through it with me. They send me a picture of it. Great way to open up a conversation where everyone has their phones, and they say, "What's that?" I tell them what it is. Fun.
Yeah, I love it, Barry. So let's get into that idea of how somebody can create one. Because, man, I mean, while the idea of a vision board is fun, the process of creating it can almost feel a little daunting. What do I want on my board? Oh my gosh, I can pick anything in my life, in my world, that I want to be on this board. Walk me through how you create vision boards, because I know you do this regularly.
So the first thing you do is you make a list of things. Let's say make a list of 20 things you want to see on your board, and you write it out on a piece of paper. So let's just say, as an example, it might be watching the sunset. So then what I would do is, what I did is I like cutting things out and gluing it onto an actual poster board. So I'd go to the hobby shop, get a big black poster board, and I would get magazines or pictures on my computer, where I'd actually cut things out. So for me, it's the process of cutting it out, gluing it, marinating with the process. That's old school. That's how I do it. Other young minds between 14 and 30, they do it more virtually. They'll put it together on the computer, and they'll put in a fancy car. They'll put a Lamborghini. They'll have a picture of climbing Mount Everest or whatever done virtually. And then I ask them, I want you to show 10 people that week your vision board. I actually have a call to action of when they need to complete it, but also I want you to show other people, and I want you to empower other people to create one for themselves. And why? Everyone I'm trying to work with is the big narrative is to be a value creator. How do you create value for others? You can do it materially, emotionally, or spiritually. Here is an example of how you can empower someone or create value by giving them a tool or an idea that can actually make a dent in the universe for them. That's how we use it. So be an agent of value creation. And it doesn't cost any money. It's not like you're writing a check. This is actually easy, but it's hard because we're all so busy. How are you going to find the time to do this?
Yeah, yeah. Well, you got to make the time, honestly. And the one thing that I also really love about this is, yes, while the vision board process of talking about it with somebody else, it does kind of light a fire under them to say, oh, maybe I want to do my own vision board. But also for the individual sharing their vision board, it's another opportunity to revisit the different items on the board and say, this is on my board, and here's why it's on my board. And it kind of reinvigorates them to go chase maybe that dream, to go chase that car. And speaking of car, this is a lovely transition for me to ask you about a story you had told me when we were talking about today's episode ahead of time. You, way back when you were working on Wall Street, you had a picture of a car, and it served as a real motivation to you. Would you mind sharing that story? Because I think it's just so perfect for today's lesson overall.
Ryan, back in the day when I started on Wall Street in 1982, many of you guys weren't born. I had a dream car, and the dream car was a white 280 SL Mercedes Roadster convertible, chocolate brown interior. I had a picture of it on the left-hand side of my computer, which was a Bunker Ramo, huge computer. Every time I came into my desk where I was making cold calls, it would remind me, how am I going to get that car if I'm not putting the work and the grit into it? And it was a subliminal message of, I wanted that car. And guess what happened? That car was $18,500 back in 1982. It was a lot of money. I bought it. And it happened. And it wasn't by accident. It was by intention, and it works. And that was just a little example of a picture. But what if you had multiple pictures? A beautiful house, a beautiful partner, your fitness, travel. Oh, you want to go to Paris? You want to do whatever you want to do. I am telling you, most of the time, that stuff actually comes true. It's amazing how the universe works with energy. Seriously.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love that because, I go back to what I said at the top of the show. You can't deny it if it's staring you right back in the face. So I love that you had the picture of the Mercedes there.
And Ryan, you're a really, really good golfer. What is your handicap?
I'm a 7 handicap at the moment.
So let's just say you put something on your vision board and you want to be a 5, and you just have the number 5 with a golf ball.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you, you'll probably be a 5.
All right, I'm gonna make that happen, Barry.
I'm serious.
I love it. No, this is great. And Barry, so we've thrown a lot at our audience. They're getting the gist of this. It helps to have a vision board, and it helps to stare at it every day, whether it's on your phone background, taped to the wall in your office, wherever it needs to be. But Barry, if you had to whittle today's conversation down into a few key takeaways in terms of not just how to build the vision board or why the vision board should exist, but really just some home runs that somebody can take away from today's discussion, what would those be?
Ryan, I learned this almost 30 years ago from one of my mentors, Dan Sullivan, strategic coach. And he said, nothing happens until after you commit. So if you commit to doing a vision board, you're committing to putting an image down that you are committed to being a better version of. That's the first step of getting what you want, is committing to it. If you commit to a vision board, you're committing to an image, highly probable that's going to happen. Now, some things don't happen, but I'll tell you 80% of the stuff has happened for me. And it's about being vulnerable. And when you're vulnerable and truthful with yourself, good things happen.
Barry, I love it. And to kind of bring this whole thing full circle. I mean, this not just the process of working through vision boards and having these types of bigger, higher level thinking with some of the young minds that you do, over at Mag 7. You guys have these types of conversations a lot. You had mentioned you've got a young mind that's working on a vision board due even this Friday to you. For anybody out there that is interested in this idea of the vision board, how you go about working with these young minds overall, not just on the vision boards, but on any of the lessons that they may have heard in this show, what would be the best way somebody could look you up online, find you, and open up a dialogue?
Ryan, thank you for sharing that. I run a very unique boutique consulting firm called Mag 7, and the phone number is the best way to reach me. It's 818-427-6109, or you can reach me via email. It's Barry at mag7consulting.com. It's very customized. It's very unique. I don't know anyone else in the country that is doing what I'm doing. But more importantly, it's all about being the best version of yourself.
I love it. And Barry, you put that on display each and every time we get together. I know that. So thank you for it. And I'm looking forward to be back here on the next one with you soon.
Thank you, Ryan. Great spending time with you.
Yeah, always is, Barry. And folks, we're going to take a final moment, as we always do on this show, and thank you for making us a part of your day. So if you enjoyed today's discussion, if you learned a thing or two about this idea of a vision board, which is just this best practice that people aren't really leaning into and leveraging in their day-to-day, well, make sure you hit that subscribe button then on whichever platform you checked us out on today so that you don't miss out on future conversations where Barry and I unpack these different lessons that were never really taught in school and that you never learned. And so how would you know how to implement them in your personal or professional life? That's what we're doing here on Game Changers. But look, for Barry, I'm Ryan. We're going to go ahead and say so long now. But once again, we appreciate you stopping by and being with us on Game Changers.